call this caucus to order. Today we have David Trevisani, Senior Director for NDC. He's bringing us an update on, an operational update on the Scranton parking system. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Councilperson, and thank you again for the time. This will be our fourth quarter update to the council on the CDPS parking system. Before I start, I wanted to, Ben Anderson sends his regards. Ben Anderson left the National Development Council for an opportunity with Morgan Stanley. It's in his area of expertise, and he'll be doing some asset management work in the affordable housing area. So he's excited, and we're excited for him. He did good work for us in managing this asset for NDC, and we'll look to replace him over the next few months. So we'll have a different project manager, but in the interim, you'll be stuck with me to do the reports. So as usual, we'll start with our operations update, and then we'll get into a financial update, and then spend a few minutes on the proposed 2023 parking budget for CDPS. On the operations update, mainly want to start with the capital projects that are underway. The Medallion Garage sewer replacement, actually that started this week. The sewer line collapsed. We've been having some problems for about 6 months now. Finally determined that it needed to be replaced in total. So that work's underway. It should take about a week to 10 days. New handheld devices for the on-street enforcement folks. You know, those things last about 5 or 6 years. They're obsolete now and they need to be replaced. So those are on order. We should have them in a couple weeks. A new maintenance vehicle, the 2005 vehicle that we inherited, needs about $7,000 in repairs, a new transmission, and it doesn't make sense to put money into a vehicle that old. So we're going to go out and purchase a new vehicle, which will be the second vehicle that we have. The first one has a plow attached, and the second one really needs to get the team around to pick up trash and the like. So a necessary part of the operation. And then the Casey Garage fire panel upgrade. It's been having some issues over the past 6 months and can't seem to figure out what the issues are. And the recommendation from our professionals is to go ahead and replace the panel. All in all, these four items will cost about $100,000 to $110,000. They'll be covered either through operations budget or the dollars that are left over in the capital program budget that we use to develop both the on-street and the off-street system. So we have money available, and that's a good thing. So these will all be completed before year end.
Dave,
yep.
Just real quickly, the new handheld devices for on-street enforcement. So those are the devices when they walk up and they'll take a shot of somebody's license plate.
That's right.
And that's what indicates whether they still have time on their.
That's correct.
And I think moving forward down the road, I know that we're going to keep the rates the same on the streets, correct?
Right. That's right, till 2026.
The plan is to lower the rates in the parking garages, try to get people to in the parking garages. So ultimately, number one, when is that going to begin?
The new rates went into effect on November the 23rd, just before the Thanksgiving holiday.
So it started about 2 weeks ago.
It started already. There's new signage out. I understand it's been well received.
Okay.
You know, we won't know the effects for a little while till we start to get some experience with the traffic flow. But so far, it seems like the merchants are happy and have heard some good things. So I'm happy about that.
And I think it's important to note too. I think a lot of people fail to remember this. Like when you go and whatever kiosk you use to say you take, I don't know, you pay $4 and you get, what is it, 2 hours max?
Yep.
I do kind of like the fact that if you're on whatever, Biden Street, you have business there for 15 minutes, then you have to run down to, I don't know, Penn Avenue, you find another spot, you're still good. That's the beauty, that anywhere you go in the city for that 2 hours, as long as it's a kiosk area.
That is so important. I'm glad you mentioned it. We are trying to schedule a meeting with the small business owners to try to educate them on those kinds of, because they get lost or they forget, and we want the public to know that that's an important feature. You just buy time. That time could be used any place in any space downtown. That's
and I'll be honest, I forgot the other day. I went in somewhere and I'm like, I knew I had to go somewhere else, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, I still have 45 minutes left, whatever. So
we, the small businesses we're working with, Scranton tomorrow, felt that December with the holidays, just a lot going on. So we're going to move that meeting to January, and we'll invite the businesses downtown, get some feedback, share these things, a little bit of a Q&A, a little bit of education.
Sure.
And we're hoping that goes over well.
Well, and I think the big thing too is now that people can go, I mean, so you literally now can park in a parking garage you'll get 4 hours for $4, right?
That's right. That's
As
right.
opposed to 2 hours
For $4.
For $4 on the street.
It's,
All right.
big difference.
Sure is. Thanks.
So the 2023 capital program, I mean, these are just a, why don't I say a wish list, but a list of things that we hope to get done. It's not an all-inclusive list. There's some things that we know that are on our radar we want to do. The Linden Garage stairway roof has some issues. It probably needs to be replaced. Mifflin Street parking lot repaving, actually we're working with the city on that to maybe get some assistance to get that done. The handicap street signage, we've had this issue a couple of times where we've heard this from council that the signs look very similar to the other signs, and it's maybe hard to distinguish what's a handicap spot. So we've worked with the city's doing the restriping, and we're looking to replace the signs so that they're distinguishable from the other signs. So, and again, this is cooperation from the city, which we're very appreciative of. The city may be able to generate the signs, we may be able to install them, because it will be an expensive endeavor. So we're trying to work those things out, but it's a plan for 2023 that we think we can get done in the spring. Power washing and striping, you know, something we should be doing every year. We haven't done it every year because of the finances, but, you know, after a winter with the salt and the road grit coming into the garages, it really protects the garage to do that every year. You know, it's an expensive endeavor. It might be $40,000 or $50,000 to power wash every garage in the system. So a medallion garage awning, that's really kind of not necessary now. It's starting to get some tears in it, and if it's not this year, it'll probably be next year. But these are some of the things that we're hoping to finance with the ARPA grant application that was approved by the city just this past week, or a couple weeks ago in November. The other things that are on our list, we're not sure we'll get to them in 2023, but for sure in 2024. We would like to spend a majority of the ARPA money looking to renovate the commercial spaces that are currently vacant, which is the space on Center Street, which is occupied but needs some upgrading, and the old Coliseum space on Adams in the Medallion office, in the Medallion building. Those spaces are not marketable. They just need too much renovation in order to attract someone to go in there. We'd have to give it away for free, and even then, somebody's got to come up with the money. So if we can use that money to get those spaces improved, even to a vanilla finish, make sure the heat and air conditioning's working, the lights are working, we might have better luck in renting that space. We had a good meeting with the city today to talk about the ARPA requirements, the reporting, the compliance, the rules we need to follow. So it was really a good back and forth. So I think we're ready to start implementing some of those programs in 2023 and early 24. And we're hopeful. We made an application for the local share account to upgrade the HVAC systems for the tenant spaces. Some of those systems are upwards of 25 years old. Any support from the city and this body would be greatly appreciated. That money will go a long way in helping make those spaces more energy efficient to help keep the costs down for those small businesses who are renting from us currently. So we're looking forward to hearing back on that. If no questions on the financial update, this is year-to-date performance through October. Revenue better than budget by $342,000. It's a good news. Expenses are worse than budget by 41. We've had some unanticipated expenses for the past month. Hiring temporary employees. We've had some additional expenses on the legal side. So we're worse than budget year-to-date by 41. So net operating income, which is dollars available to pay debt service, to make loan payments, is $300,000. So that's the good news. Again, I want to remind you that the budget that we passed last year was a deficit budget. That budget is on the far right, which shows NOI of net operating income of $1,251,000, which is money available to pay debt service, revenue less expense. Our debt service payments, however, are $1,554,000. So we did not project having enough money to cover our debt payments when we started the budget year, not knowing where we were going to be going with the pandemic. The good news is the actual year-to-date, which is in the center three columns, shows that we're at a better than one coverage, which means we currently have enough money to make those debt payments. And our next payment is January, and we do expect to have the dollars available to make that payment. So that's the good news. So it looks like we're doing really good against budget, but that budget was a deficit budget that we passed, so it looks good, but still we're right on the edge. We're just really about covering our costs right now. There's no questions on the year-to-date. I wanted to give you a preview of the 2023 budget. Now, as you know, this body passed rate adjustments just, I think, at our last council meeting or a couple council meetings ago. As you said, Councilperson King, lowering the rates to $1 an hour. We knew that was going to impact our budget on the revenue side because you're lowering the transient rate by 75%. You're going from $4 to $1. We don't think that we're going to lose the full 75%. I think, as you point out, Councilperson King, that someone who may have parked in the garage for 2 hours or needed 2 hours and it was $7 might now stay for 2 hours and pay $2. So they might stay longer in the garage. And so we don't expect to lose 75% of that transient revenue. So we're projecting losing about 50. So if you look at the transient number, let me back up a little bit. Our approach to this budget was really to take into account performance from 2022, take into account the fact that we wanted to manage expenses very closely, so we did not want to budget major capital items or major improvements like power washing. We're going to look for other monies to cover those costs, but still want to do them during the course of the year. So conservative on the operations and maintenance and capital program, because as I mentioned, the city and this body approved the $450,000. We won't have to take the money out of our operating budget to cover those costs because we'll fund them in other places, which bodes really well, I think, for the partnership here. And then the other thing we want to obviously take into account was just trying to be efficient on expenses, adjusting for the rates, projected year end, and then the capital program, again, out of other funds and not in the operating budget. So I wanted to show you this bigger spreadsheet. I hope that's not too small, because I wanted you to see the history. We have historical data in here from 2017 through 2021, and you can see the revenue, the gross revenue line starts out at $4.5 million in 2017. It stays about flat through 2019. And then with the COVID, it went down to $3.3 million and change in 2020. Came back a little bit in 2021, about $4 million. And then in 2022, we project it to be around $4.5 million, which is back to the 2017 numbers. But you got to remember that we did a rate increase in 2020. So we projected about $4.9 million in 2020, and we're not quite there. I think we're growing there. I think that's a positive sign, a positive trend. So it looks like we've done really well, and we're getting back to pre-pandemic numbers. But remember that rate increase did affect the numbers going 2020 going forward. Now for 2023, we took into account the rate reduction. And as you can see on the far right, we're comparing the 2022 projected year end with the 2023 budget. And you can see we're a little bit better than budget on monthlies. We're projecting to be almost $300,000 less on the transient revenue, and that's due to the rate reduction. And we're projecting about flat every place else. We're not projecting increases in our tenant spaces because we have no more tenant spaces to rent just yet. We're not projecting any increases on the revenue recovery, which is tickets, and we're not projecting any increased revenue on the on-street. We just project it to be flat. I think with the rate reduction, I think we're going to need some time to try to understand and look at the data to see, because if you're parking on the street now because you don't want to go in the garage for $4, you might go park in the garage to save money, but now you're not paying on the street. So that revenue might be a little bit less unless it's replaced by a new parker. So we're going to have to see how that plays out over the course of the year, and we'll have a better handle on, what that looks like mid-year and into 2024. So it's not going to be an automatic, somebody goes from parking on street in the garage, and that replacement on the street is going to be the same as it was in the prior year, if you're following. So that's something we'll have to stay close to. So we're projecting in 2023, $4.1 million in revenue, about $230,000 less than 2022 projected. And that's again due to the lower rate structure. But again, the key to that is we're not funding, capital and major repair items out of the operational budget. We're paying for those in other places. So on the expense side, we're trying to be efficient, and as you notice on the expense side, we're projecting to finish 2022 at about 2.9, and we're expecting the 2023 budget to be about 2.8. So about $130,000 less than last year. And again, that's due to trying to be efficient with our staffing, trying to be efficient with where we're paying for capital and major repair items. So overall, if you look at the net operating income number, we expect it to be about $100,000 less in 2023 than 2022 projected year end. I happen to think that's great. I really thought this was going to be a lot bigger on the negative side with our reduction in the rate structure. So, this is something that we'll now have to work with, our bondholders, Alliance Bernstein, right? If you pass this budget, it shows that you're not going to have enough money to make your loan payments, right? We've been in that situation for a couple years now with the pandemic. Now that we're lowering rates, that's going to really, keep that situation the same. I think Alliance Bernstein recognizes, as we've talked with this body, the long-term benefits of lowering the rates. We think that's going to hopefully attract more people to come downtown. People will use the garages more. More people will park on the street, make available spaces on the street. And in the long run, 3 to 5 years, we're going to start to see that revenue eventually go up. So I have a meeting actually with Alliance Bernstein, our bondholders, tomorrow to preview this budget. The CDPS Board of Directors is going to act on this budget, review and act on this budget on December the 20th, and this will go into effect January 1. Alliance Bernstein has been really very supportive of this partnership and with us working with the city, and they expect that once we start to see how this performs over the next 2-3 months, first quarter, maybe second quarter, we'll start looking at options for maybe adjusting the debt service payments or adjusting the debt altogether. Those are conversations we'll continue to have with our bondholders. Really too early to sort of see what those options are until we see how the system performs, and then we'll obviously report back to this group as in the subsequent quarters. So that's the snapshot. Again, I think that in the long term, this is really good for the city. It's good for downtown. It's good for the merchants. It's good for the visitors. And what Alliance Bernstein will say is that we may need to right-size the rate structure because we recognize it was going to become unaffordable for a city like Scranton, and then right-size the debt payments to reflect that, which is why the extending of the concession term was so important to this whole process. It gives us in Alliance Bernstein more flexibility to adjust those payments. Any questions on the budget and the process we went through?
Questions?
I have questions, but not related to the budget, so I'll hold them
Sure.
until you're finished.
If there's no more questions on the budget, the last slide is really the rate structure that was changed. It shows you the changes from the current to the new. And this is you're already aware of, but I wanted to put it on a slide so that it shows you how the rates went to $1 an hour for the first 10. And we won't start increasing rates till 2026.
So Dave, the Scranton resident monthly parker, is that someone that lives downtown? Lives in a townhouse or an apartment?
Correct.
So how is that, how do you kind of prove that?
I may need to get ABM to confirm our procedure.
No, I'm just saying, like,
but
somebody that might live
It may
on
be-
East
it-
Mountain or South Side,
Yeah,
and they work downtown.
It may be getting a utility bill, or there is a,
So they have to show proof that
They
they
have to
live...
show proof.
They have to show proof that they live within the downtown
that's
city
correct.
limits?
That's correct. The downtown district is defined
District.
by the district, this parking system that we manage.
Okay.
That's correct.
And then as parking in the garages, so it's $1, second hour, and, so if you're there for 6 hours, does it just continues,
$6.
so it just continues right up to till,
That's right.
gotcha, okay,
Yep.
nice.
Yeah, I do. I think this is a good thing for the long term, and so far it's been good. Folks have gotten good feedback, and again, we won't have numbers as to the usage and how many people are actually using the garages, and if those numbers are increasing, that's what we're hoping to see. But we'll see that. What we do know is what we have seen is less and less people were using the garages, and more people, as we came out of the pandemic, were parking on the street and not going into the garages. So to me, that meant less spaces on the street for those folks who wanted to park right in front of where they wanted to go, because they weren't willing to pay the $4 for an hour.
Right.
And-
So would
and-
business owners, for instance, that have to be downtown for 8 hours, what have you, would they be people that would be involved with the regular monthly parking? Is it?
Yeah, because it's still an advantage. I mean, if you're coming downtown and you're paying $1 an hour, $92 a month is still less expensive than coming down and paying $1 an hour all day for every
Right.
day all week, right?
Sure.
And you can do the math, but it's still a good deal. And to have a pass and not have to put your money in and pay, and
Sure.
the $92 is still a good deal
Have you
if you make
noticed,
the
are there-
comparison.
Are there a lot of business owners who will do that for multiple spots so that they're paying in advance for their employees as well? Or are you finding more that the employees have to pay themselves?
I'm not sure the number, but we do have employees pay for their employers pay for their employees' parking. And so then we'll have a group. It's not a special rate because we
There's not
can't
a
do that
group
because of
rate
the
or
public
any-
financing, but it's easier for the employer and the employee. So we just have a group rate, and we issue them passes, and they give us a list every month, and it really works out.
Yeah, I do see that the transient parking for 24 hours that went up from 13 to 15, but
Right.
I don't really know of any cities that I've been where I've paid for overnight 24-hour parking, where I've been able to do that for $15. I mean, and rates, continue to go up like 30, 40, 50. I mean, you go to New York,
We don't want
and
to
it's crazy.
encourage that, but, that's why we tried to
Right.
make it for a full day, $1 an hour, but then if you want to park overnight, it's an increase. And again, we're going to see how this rate structure plays out and what that situation is. I mean, if you're a downtown visitor and you go visit somebody and you're going to stay overnight, you pay $15. That's
Right.
actually a good deal. But to get your car covered and in the garage, rather than if you're in the winter, you're going to go visit someone and stay overnight downtown, you park on the street, you get free, but, just safer, cleaner, easier. So, yeah, I would agree, it's a good deal.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I did have a couple others. I was glad to hear about NDC, ABM working together with the city on the handicap parking spots. I think the city right now, before they start the line painting, they actually don't seem to have the handicap parking spots well categorized or enough data on the ones that are existing, or if we have I think the history behind them from what I'm told. So I think that process is taking a little bit longer, but I'm assuming you want to wait for the line painting prior to changing the signs in case there are any additional
I'll have
spots.
to check
or
with
one-
ABM. I was told last time we talked, I should say that the on-street coordinator was pulling together the list, but I got the impression that list was kind of a known a known list and they knew where they are and how many there were, but she was pulling that together. So what I'm hearing is that's been a little more difficult than that.
That's the impression
Okay.
that I'm
I-
under in that process, so I would certainly like to see it move along. I want to make sure that
Okay, fair
we
enough.
do it right, but yeah, it'd be great to get
Yep, very
those
nice.
signs changed sooner than later, because they can often be confusing for
Great.
residents. And then one of the garages, I think it was in Steamtown, where they said that they were going to have restrictions on certain vehicles that could be in their garage. I was wondering if that was anything that we had
Restrictions on
plans for.
vehicles?
Yeah, on types of vehicles that could be under there. I understand there might be height restrictions for people to access the garage, but like electrical vehicles are fine. There's no restrictions that we're placing on them. I know.
Yeah, I'm not aware of those. I'm
Steamtown's a
sure
separate
that's
entity.
right. I don't know what those details are. I know that, construction vehicles that can't fit in the garage, that's obviously an issue, or a van, I don't think they can fit in the garage. But other than that, I think if it fits, I don't know that we have a restriction.
Okay, I just
But-
want to make sure of that. And
I
then,
know some garage operators charge an extra fee for oversized vehicles. I don't even know if we do that, but I could report back and find out what our rules are.
sure. And one more issue with the garages that I wanted to bring up, because I know a large part of the conversation we've been having tonight and what you've explained about the changes in the parking rate structure for the garages. I'm wondering if there are any other factors that could be deterring people aside from cost to park in the garages. And one of those, which I believe someone else had brought up during public comment in the past, had been safety, whether or not they feel secure parking in the garage and walking out of the garage or walking into the garage to their vehicle. So I'm not sure if there needs to be more education on that of the public, and like what you would consider to be reasons that our garages are safe for people to use, whether it be lighting or if there's a phone that someone can use,
Yeah.
or a red line where if someone needs to request assistance, things like that.
I think that industry-wide, parking garages are just not well received by the public, because especially if there's not a lot of people around, it might be as safe as heck, but it maybe not feel that way because you're in an enclosed space, you might be alone. So the best way to try to dissuade folks from that there's a safety issue is make them bright, and I think we have good LED lighting in the garages. Use bright colors so that there's reflection of the light, and have a presence where you can. We have doors that lock. I don't know the statistics of incidents where we've had incidents in the garages, and I think that's something that if it's good, we should promote it, and we should educate folks as to what those statistics are. I'm not hearing that we have an issue. I know that we've had an issue with, homeless populations, camping out in the garages and in some of the lobbies, and I think that we've tried to do our best with security personnel, trying to move them along. Or we've put in a sound system which is motion activated. So if someone's in the garages, late at night when it's activated and they move around, a siren will go off and a voice will come out and say, you're not supposed to be here. So it's kind of a deterrent, and that's actually improved, because I know that folks may be harmless, but that can be disquieting sometimes for folks. So we're trying to do all those things to encourage that. But to your point, anything we can do on the education side will helpful, and we'll try to get some statistics and maybe report that out at the small business meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely
Might be
having
helpful.
some more of those safety initiatives would
Okay.
be helpful to advertise, to increase the amount of people wanting to park in the garages.
Great, thank you. Good comments.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Well, thank you, David,
Thank you.
for the update, and we look forward in the new year have a great holiday season, and we'll see you in probably January, right?
Same, yep, we'll see you first quarter. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you very much. That concludes our caucus.
Adjourn.